So the ethics panel itself can, with respect to Foley. Now, with respect,
I'm not picking on anyone.
no. I'm just saying this is the example we're working off of. He has resigned from the House, and so
He's not the only one.
he has resigned from the House. So as it relates to him, there's nothing that we can do to him individually. We're done. He's out of our jurisdiction. Now, with respect to any other member, there's an investigation going on about what all happened and trying to figure out what we did and who did what to who and who knew what when and which steps were taken, all those kinds of things. If there are still members in Congress who are in that investigation and are shown to have, or it's determined based on the facts that they did or didn't do something they were supposed to or not supposed to have done, then the House can take action against those sitting members of Congress. But once somebody's out of Congress, that ethics panel just doesn't have the jurisdiction.
That's what the guy said yesterday. That's hard for me to believe.
What would you suggest we do?
I suggest that if you got something on somebody, you get him up there and publicly disgrace the man or whoever it is.
Yeah, how much more public can you get?
No, but you guys, he's your peer, not mine.
He's no longer our peer.
He was.
He's
what
no
he did.
How do I get him back?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's up to you.
No,
You
it's
guys,
not up to me.
your ethics committee got to do something. Hey,
No.
what are they doing?
They kick people out of the Congress.
I haven't heard anybody ever getting kicked out lately.
No, not lately.
The last one was that kid in Chicago that was stealing stamps.
No, he wasn't a kid. He was an old man, but yeah.
Well,
I'm not the chairman of Ways and Means. I'm not dictator.
oh, darn.
I know. I'd love to be dictator. I
Yeah,
could
that would
get
be
some of
fun,
this
wouldn't
stuff
it?
taken care of. But anyway, what we are still doing with the sales tax is, I met with, as an example, Texas automobile dealers last Monday, a week ago today in Austin, and I asked them what they thought. They've not taken a position on it, and so I suggested that they've got a tax committee, and that tax committee begin to look at the sales tax as it affects car dealers. What it does, doesn't do, how it helps them, hurts them, all those kinds of things. If we can continue to get into groups like that, and if they agree, but they like it, but continue to build grassroots support and get more and more guys like you who will write their congressman who's not on the bill yet, keep pushing on it and building that support. Where we are right now, about a third of Americans like the current tax code. It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. About a third of Americans want a flat tax, as they understand it, and about a third like the national sales tax. What that tells us is that 2/3 of Americans want something else. Yes, sir.
So are we going to lose Congress, or are we going to keep Congress?
Well, depends on who the we is.
He's going to be there.
Yeah.
I can keep breathing. I think the Republicans will maintain majority in the House and the Senate. We currently have 14 seats, 15 if you count Tom DeLay's seat. I think we'll wind up 7 or 8 seats instead. We'll lose that many seats net, but I think that we will we'll maintain majority.
I think our farm bill is good, and I think you ought to tell WTO where to go.
Okay.
In Brazil particularly.
Yeah.
How in the world they could ever, do you realize how many acres they increased their cotton acreage to say that we were at fault because the price of cotton went down?
Yeah. Let me answer two different questions that I'm hearing from you. One is the farm bill that we're currently operating under will be reauthorized next year. I know a lot of producers, a lot of groups are calling for a simple extension of the bill. I don't think that's in the cards. I think it will be reauthorized. The commodities title and the conservation title will look like an extension. I don't think there's going to be much done to the mechanics. Our real issue with Farm Bill reauthorization is how much money can we fence off to underwrite or support the farm program over the next 5 or 6 years.
Well, you can't balance the budget on agriculture.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. But what I am saying, though, is in 2002, when this one was done, Combest and Stenholm did the good job they did. The federal government was experiencing surpluses that year. In 2007, when we do it, there'll be deficits. And so setting priorities across the entire spectrum of spending will be different in 2007 than they were in 2002. So that said, whatever we can do is what we will get done.
Okay.
We've got a good program.
This idea of free trade in agriculture, it's not going to happen.
Well, if we had, I can't conjure up an economic model where we can make and grow and build stuff in America and sell it to each other and prosper. It just isn't going to happen. We have to sell stuff, whether just in the general. We have to sell stuff to other people in the world. We only got 5% of the population. We've got an incredibly productive 5%, and we're going to have to sell to other folks. And our goal ought to be free and fair trade and plenty of level playing fields. We got a long way to go to get there. We may never get there in terms of the amount of money that the EU underwrites from their ag program, and that you mentioned cotton program with Brazil going to the WTO. The WTO is if we think we have to be able to sell to other parts of the world, having a forum, having a way to come to agreements with each other as to how we're going to do that and how we try to be fair with each other in doing that, then you're going to have the WTO, and you're going to have broad trade agreements, you're going to have bilateral trade agreements, all those kinds of things, because we just, as a nation, we need to be able to ship stuff somewhere else. TXU is not using the gold gasification processes, and it's a business decision that building it at that scale and everything that they're doing, they believe that in order to get online on a very quick time frame, they need to go with the technology that they're using. If you look at the demand, the growth in demand in ERCOT, which is the grid for all of Texas, ERCOT prefers to have a margin of unused capacity that's double digit, 12, 13%. They think that makes that they can manage the spike demands that you have to do within that. If you look at the growth in demand and the growth in generating capacity over the next 4 or 5 years, that number will shrink into the single digits the next 3 or 4 years, and that makes ERCOT very nervous. TXU's response is, we're going to bring these coal-fired plants online. We're going to reduce other emissions at other plants and everything else, so that collectively we have a net 25% reduction in emissions overall, and yet with this individual plants there will be more emissions there than there were previously. So, and they're trying to feed into ERCOT so as to affect that shrinking margin to grow it back up into the range that ERCOT believes is an appropriate level to keep it at.
What are your goals for us? What do you see us accomplishing as West Texans over the next 4 to 6 years?
Probably the two brightest activities are the Future Gen and the high temperature testing and teaching reactor. Those are great projects for West Texas. They've got wide applicability across the entire world, and they're counterintuitive for the part of the world that's known for its oil and gas production. To be working on both of those. One a fossil fuel, but neither related to oil and gas, is certainly counterintuitive, and I get a lot of surprised looks from people in other parts of the world when I begin to talk about that. So winning either one of those competitions, or winning the Future Gen, or continuing to develop the nuclear reactor, I think is a big deal.